Hey guys, in this video I wanted to give you an update on how training has been going. For those of you who have been following me on Instagram, I do share pretty regular updates on how training has been going, just because I feel like it's important to be transparent with the process. But I wanted to do this overall video just explaining a little bit more about my whole thought process behind things, how I've been feeling, body weight, stuff like that. It's just because Instagram is a good way to do some short form content that's not really, I guess, that much time intensive, and I feel like this is a better way for me to connect with my audience and following and whatever. So overall, training is going very, very, very well from an objective standpoint. I am setting PRs pretty consistently, sub-maximal PRs, which has been really cool. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit more in depth because my approach to training has changed a little bit in terms of maturity. So you'll see me in this video taking singles, still taking heavier top sets. However, my fluctuations in my singles and my top sets do fluctuate pretty big week to week. And this is because it's not really my focus right now. I'm more focused on raising my baseline with my volume work and turning in like sets of like 5 and just just raising that, sets of 8 and whatnot. And that's been really, really helpful for me to shift my focus. And this is also helpful from a actual physiological standpoint because top end strength is extremely sensitive to fatigue dynamics, whereas more volume based work is not. This is largely because of muscle damage. So there's things called motor neurons that innervate your muscle fibers. So if you have more muscle damage, you're going to have less motor neurons that can actually fire and send impulses, action potentials to the muscle to contract hard and to basically produce the force. So when you're in a volume block like I am, because I'm trying to gain muscle right now, I'm trying to fulfill out a higher weight class, which I'll talk about that later. It makes more sense for me to focus on adding in more volume work, focusing on that instead of just top end intensity. Because the general progression of beginners is that they should focus more on technique proficiency in the main movements, and not a ton of exercise variation. Lots of squat, bench, deadlift, heavy compounds. Then intermediate powerlifters should focus a lot on, really maximizing their muscle mass. Lots of volume blocks, and then the only other thing that really changes between competition prep and your off season, quote unquote, is the amount of specificity that you're doing. Your heavy top end exposures. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can do that through like more of a block periodized way, where you don't really do that much heavy exposures. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you go into more of an intensity focused block where you start incorporating, linearly, maybe more triples, doubles, singles going into your meet to help peak and, take advantage of that higher force potential because of a bigger muscle. Because research is pretty clear that the difference between the, elite level powerlifters and how strong they are is basically muscle mass. So having more muscle mass during your intermediate stage, is what you should kind of be focusing on, eating a calorie surplus moderately, and focusing on just having lots of fun in training, focusing on volume PRs, and then once you go into competition, then you can start to raise the roof, quote unquote, with your strength. And then once you get to be more advanced, then you want to focus a little bit more on that, 1 to 5 rep range, because you're probably in that, in the weight class that you should be, about as jacked as you should be. You already developed lots of the underlying characteristics of strength, and then you're going to, just be focusing on that strength. That's why you see guys who are more advanced, they don't really do volume blocks. They're kind of just, always pushing that intensity pretty hard for the neurological adaptation, lots of more specific training, because that's what they need. Their technique's more refined, they need less movement variation, and whatnot. But I'm setting all kinds of volume PRs. You're going to see like all these sets on the screen are PRs for volume, for multiple sets. And I'm really, really happy about how that's going. I'm pushing myself pretty hard in training, and the payouts are being pretty big. In terms of where body weight is at right now, I have kind of stalled out around. So I started out at 182.5 to 183. Was right around where my body was stalled at, coming off of my September 11th meets, and then 2 weeks of maintenance after that. I'm just going to call 183 pounds. Right now, I'm fluctuating between 185 to 186. and seem to not really have, much of upward movements for a couple weeks. So I'm going to be increasing my calories very slightly by about 100 up, to help improve, hopefully shoot weight gain up a little bit more. I'm taking this slowly again, just because like my whole thought process is like, if I'm feeling good in my training, if my numbers are going up, if I'm noticing small improvements in my physique, which I am, I'm happy. But it's hard for me to just gain weight from a mental perspective, just being completely emotionally honest, because I'm used to, seeing myself like extremely like lean, bone dry, shredded, like sub 8% body fat year round. And for me, like getting to that, upper, single digits to, going to more that 10 to 12% is a little bit scary. But I understand that it's part of the process, and I'm, focusing on just becoming the best lifter I possibly can, and focusing on my training, all my PRs and that, as opposed to just how dry are my abs, and focusing on, are my legs getting bigger, are my shoulders getting bigger, stuff like that, because I think it's important to have appropriate expectations around the phase. Like if you are bulking, you're not going to like be as lean because you're in a calorie surplus, or like look as lean. But your training is going to be really, really good. And you should focus on those improvements, and not expect to look, as lean in a phase where you're in a calorie surplus, eating excessive carbs. But as long as you can keep that goal the goal and stay focused, you're going to have drastic benefits. So overall, like I'm pretty happy with how things are going. My biggest advice to everybody that is just in a volume block is just don't worry too much about your top end. Just circling back around, don't worry too much about your top end. Like singles don't really matter that much in a volume block. If they go up, that's great. That's a really, really good sign. But as long as you're raising your baseline, once you move to a higher, intensity block, you're going to have more potential to build that skyscraper even higher. Think about having as wide of a base as possible. You're going to be able to have a higher peak, be able to build the building even taller. And so right now, that's kind of what I'm just focused on doing. And yeah, things are going well, enjoying my training, and whatnot. So I'm going to be having a pretty big sale coming on next week for coaching and programs. So be a lookout for that for Black Friday. And I also did release a free bodybuilding program. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you can, click the link in my bio and get that sent to you. But that's how things are going. Road to 90 kg is still going pretty well. And yeah, feeling overall pretty good. This is out of order, but this is a 397 times 5 squat, which I'm pretty happy with, considering how I felt on that day. Not every day is going to be your best, or you're going to feel the best, but as long as you're consistently showing up, doing your job, and trying your absolute hardest, results will come. And embrace the process. And yeah, man, like I'm just really grateful for everything that's going on right now. My training, my clients are crushing it, and life's pretty good. So Road to 90 kg continues, and thank you for everybody for all the support. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one later.